Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so a whole bunch of different things going on. Just want to be more productive, it's been going pretty well so far. I've been doing better with my life. I just was wasting so much
Good.
time, dude. Just wasting time, just being like, oh, I need to wait for this to be perfect or for this to happen, and then I'll do
Yeah.
this, and then no, man, it's just you just got to show up and start doing stuff. Just start doing stuff, and then you see what you have time for, what you're not. But then the stagnation of waiting for things to line up in a certain way while you're just like sitting on plans. It's like, nah, man, they ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
Nobody got time for that. Yeah.
Hmm. All
All
right.
right. So yeah, I guess I'm just jumping into this right
Sure.
now. Just jump in. Okay, so first, thank you for coming. This is I Know Great People. And thank you for participating in this. And I have to thank Stephen because Stephen did launch this off with me at back almost 10 years. No, it was 10 years. It was almost 10 years ago, actually. Wasn't
Yeah.
it? It was almost 10 years ago we had the first one
Yeah.
of I Know Great People. And Stephen
Yeah.
is back on again as I launch this season, the first of three seasons, at least three seasons. I'm going to do this in like 3 years. We're going to be releasing these. Some will be posted already that you would have seen on Dying Live channel. I think I'll also have I Know Great People YouTube channel might also be cross-posting there, but I know great people.carbon33.com for now. You can check it out there for Steven's first one and all the other ones in the series. And my intention with this is to share information about what people do versus what we think they do. And I want to bridge the gap between perception and knowledge, as I believe the more we know about ourselves, the greater the things that we can accomplish. And another part of this, I also just want to show off all the cool people that I know and associate with that allow to associate them. They're busy people doing all these things that allow a bum like me to associate to them. But as I'm working my way out of this, Stephen's also back on. We've done most of these talking about particular occupations that people do. And as I've been asking people to come on this, like, is happy a job? I'm like, no, no, it's anything. This is about lived experiences. So, Stephen, I think this might be the first one that we're doing where it's not necessarily somebody's occupation or pastime. And
Mm.
yeah, and we're going to be talking a bit about that today. So, but so I'm gonna I need to modify these questions as well because I think the way the questionnaire was written before, it seemed like it was more towards like specific occupations, but this it's lived experiences. So, Stephen, can you tell the people a bit about themselves? If you want to hear more about this one, you can follow the other ones in the 500 conversations we've had. But tell us a bit about what we're going to be discussing today, your name, and just a bit about how we met each other, know each other, and have gotten to be really good friends.
So I'm Stephen Kirschner. Spoken to Silas many times and known him for years now. The way we originally met was through our mutual friend Dina Loria. She was reaching out, I think, to people about starting a YouTube channel, and Silas was one of the people who responded. You guys were talking a little bit, then I joined in, then you and I started talking together, and we became friends through that. I don't remember the exact transition. I don't know if we mentioned it at all, but Dina has gotten engaged recently, so congrats to her. If for those who don't know, she was also the witness for me and Christine at our wedding, so that
Yeah,
that was
so
that was that's
you definitely need to have her on this series. We're
very
both
very
gonna.
very near and dear to me. Mario came as well, very nice guy, fiance from South Africa. They moved to Texas. We keep in touch online a little bit, but obviously we're both busy with work and the time zone difference. So like us, like we don't talk as much as we'd like to, but now and
Yeah,
then. So I've talked about my career in other in other conversations. I'm a restaurant manager currently. It's what I've been doing for the last few years. Again, you can listen to other conversations if you want the whole explanation for why I went from cooking to front of house. I don't mind talking about it, but we've already covered it multiple
yeah,
times. So uh, currently, I think today we're going to be talking more about married life in the city. My wife and I moved in together to Astoria here, actually earlier this year. We've been together about what is it, 4 years now, but we've only been married for a little over a year, and we finally got a place together. It was, there were some tough things with her moving around with work. My work was moving around. We were trying to figure out where we wanted to live, but eventually we settled on a good place, and and our life together, living together, finally began earlier this year. So
yeah.
feel free
And
to ask whatever.
yeah, so for me, I'm really glad to have Stephen on for this one, and just to branch out from more just like occupations because it's just the live experience that people have. And this is one thing that I think Stephen and I have talked about in different ways and different things. because we met when I was in New York City at that time. There's certain things from certain conversations we had. People might have certain misconceptions about the sort of people we deal with. They might think we hate women due to some of the things that we've discussed, or certain mindsets topics, but clearly not. Because Stephen is somebody who appreciates. It's kind of the thing where some of the criticism we've had on some of these conversations we've had is because of the things that are bad. I think if someone is in generally just a bum and you don't really see much potential from the person, you kind of, it's like, whatever. You don't really care if they're underachieving, if they're misbehaving in certain ways, because that's what you expect from them. But in general, I think from fellow humans, like, we want to understand, why is somebody behaving in this kind of negative way, and why aren't they doing these positive things? And we've seen that both in the manosphere, the MGTOW type of places. There's some people who are saying some positive things in that way, but also with feminism, getting importance of individuality, getting women's rights out there. There's positive aspects of it, but there's toxic parts of that. So there has been some toxicity going on in the world that we've seen in different ways, and we've discussed that at length in different conversations. But it was through, like, with the understanding that in general, it still comes down to human actions, human choices. You can still find people out there. Majority of the people who want a relationship are still in comfortable, in functional relationships. And the people who are in dysfunctional ones, it's often due to personal issues themselves. There are struggles in the world, but that's a normal condition of just being alive. And that's the thing we think, like, why can't you just do better and just find some way through all the struggles that are out there? We're here because this is something Stefan Molyneux says. And I think we also met, that was one of the things we also kind of like from the back, like with the philosophy and that aspect of it, where he's saying, like, you are the result of like 300 million years of evolution. I mean, not 300 million years, maybe it's not that long, but 300,000 years, and that was it. Like, all our ancestors had to somehow find a partner to reproduce with and come here and overcome all the struggles that they had. They're objectively a lot more tough struggles than we've had. Then this woman thinks I need to behave in the 666. This woman is asking for 666 from me. Was it six figures, 6 foot tall and over 6 inches? Was that
yeah.
666?
Some say 6-pack as well, but I don't know.
So quadruple 6. So instead of like being defeated by something like that and being like, oh, they've been poisoned against me, like, no, there's ways to figure this out. And I think if you start highlighting more of like the human flourishing in this series, I'd be super happy to do that. And it's good that Stephen has come on and just shown, like, yeah, there's issues out there in the dating market. And we're also living in very brand new times. Just the ability for you to have this much choice and interaction with your potential spouse. There could be a sort of paralysis by analysis sort of type of situation, where you're being exposed to so many potential partners that your standards and evaluation and expectations are being blown out of the realistic kind of aspect of it. And then you're with somebody who in the past you'd be overjoyed to have, but because you think there's a small chance it might be someone who's just like, who you think is just even a little bit more perfect for you, that you're going to like let that go. Anyway, rambling a bit. So in general, I'm just glad, like, Stephen met this person and they got along well, and they were talking about each other, like, this back and forth. And then all of a sudden Stephen's like, yeah, I'm going to marry this person. You've met the family, he gets along very well with your family, but you'll get into them more of that. So just in general, right now, this is the thing, living in the city, New York City, that's one of the places that people say it's very tough to find someone. So in your experience, I'm trying to modify this. So 2 to 3 things someone would like about, I don't know if we would talk a bit about like the courting aspect of finding somebody or dating. Okay, so yeah, what are 2 to 3 things that you liked about finding Christina and in the city, dating in the city, courting in the city? 2 to 3 things about that, because a lot of people were like, it's impossible, don't do it in New York City, like the women are this, or it's too tough, you're working, you're doing all these things. So 2 to 3 things about like your courting process that you enjoy, that you think other people would enjoy if they got over their fears or aversion to actually testing it out.
Well, I think, as you sort of implied with the 666 thing, is that, like, you have to remember that a lot of people like that online don't reflect the whole population. It's like in a lot of movements, it's the most radical people that stand out the loudest. So people will see all these women posting like, I want a guy who makes $1 million a year. I want a guy who's 6 foot tall. And like, but then you have to remember, like, okay, if you get out and actually talk to multiple women, they're not all saying that. It's like those
Yeah.
are the crazies that are being held up. And I think what intimidates people a little bit, it's the whole paradox of choice thing of like, oh, there are all these people, like, but then that also applies to other people as well. So then other people may not see you as ideal because it's like you have a ton of options. Well, so do they. So they're going to be like, what do I like about this person? What do I like about this person? If I can just find someone who's a perfect combination of what I want, that'll be my ideal person. But in reality, as we talked about in that previous discussion, it's like, no, you're probably going to find things you like and dislike about everyone. It's just overall who is the best overall package. Like, as Thomas Sowell has been saying forever, it's about trade-offs. It's like,
Mhm.
there's no one who's 100% what you want completely, but in general, it's like, are they majority? Okay, then you're willing to compromise on other points of disagreement. So I think what I enjoyed about meeting Christine was just, she was very easygoing. She didn't have high expectations off the bat. She was very open-minded. I mean, obviously, we have very different backgrounds. Me being raised in the West, her being in the East, but she was willing to work on those things. I mean, in many ways, we're not as different as people would think, but at the same time, like it's like, okay, I was raised Catholic in the West. She was raised Buddhist in the East. At first glance, it's like, okay, that's going to be very different. Um, I guess another thing is that we could just bond over simple things like food. We'd make videos together, things like that. Like wasn't like, oh, I expect you to go out and buy me designer clothing or anything like that. So I guess overall, just like easy to get to know. Being willing to compromise on cultural differences, and also just like I say, reasonable expectations. Like, obviously I like buying her things now and then, but it's not like, oh, I expect my guy to buy me a new outfit every week or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, you were confident enough in your life, and I think that's part of I think what I think is a key thing to do to find people is if you're living your life in a confident sense, you're secure with who you are, you have certain goals and ambition, and you're doing that kind of thing. I think that is something that is in general admirable. There are some of those aspects that are more admirable to women than men, but I think even for women, for men, if you find a woman who's secure in herself, she's not just taking signaling from outside things. You can see her thought process on certain things. It's just a general attractiveness of that. So
Mhm.
in that sense, you were confident enough in who Stephen Kirschner was. You were living life as Stephen Kirschner, Bachelor. Yes, you were actively still out there dating and whatnot. So with this next question, it's like two to three things someone may dislike. So certain challenges you had dating in New York, and also some things that you think that I think you had taken for granted as a bachelor that now when you add somebody else to your life, you might have liked doing those things as a bachelor, but you need to come to terms that like now that somebody else is in your life, those things are going to have to change, and you might dislike that off the break, but then there's trade-offs, and you're getting a benefit of having this amazing new person in your life that's bringing you more than that thing in the past was you thought was holding on to. If that makes any sense of the question, because I'm
Yeah,
also
sure.
wondering with that because I'm so used to living by myself, it's hard for me to imagine like having a partner, like middle aged and whatnot. But yeah,
Well, sure. So a few things. Again, I think what was tough with dating again in New York, because again, it's the paradox of choice thing of like, because like from a guy's perspective, it's, oh, hypergamy is on overdrive. All these women keep thinking they can do better, and you feel like you're never going to be that top tier guy. And then we've discussed in the past how like an average woman can sleep with a top tier guy and think she's going to get a relationship when in reality he's just having fun.
Mhm.
Um, Now, of course, obviously, Christine's not like that. That's one of the reasons I was attracted to her. But like, I think going into dating, it's kind of a concern certain guys have. And then like ghosting is pretty common both for men and women from who I've talked to, because again, it's like, oh, I don't like this person, but I'm sure there's someone better around the corner. I'm just going to
Yeah.
blow them off. I just think that's rude personally, but unfortunately, it's a reality. Um, I think let's,
Before you move, there's probably many situations where if you brought it up, maybe they'd be
yeah.
like, "Oh, I was just trying to because I thought this is what you," but it's not really themselves. Like people don't give each other a chance to actually be genuine in them. But then I guess you can also get it depends on how absurd the thing was. But it's not normally that absurd. It's normally something that that person was putting on an act because they were nervous or they were trying to be someone else. Where if you brought it up with them, maybe it's just like something they were pretending and you anyway. Keep going. Sorry if I derailed you.
No, 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 it's perfectly fine. So, anyway, what I was going to get at is you talked about things that feeling restricted. It's kind of a double-edged sword for me because on the one hand, like I joke about how I don't have much of a social life anymore, and it was funny because one of my mentors posted a meme. I was going to make my own version of it. It says my social circle in 2020, and it was like a big group of people. Then it was social circle in 2024 or whatever. Then it's a smaller circle. My social circle now, it's just his dog. So it's like I was thinking like I need to do one of that, but it's like me, Christine, and like the like birds and stuff outside.
Yeah, like,
So,
but why do you need anybody else?
but
Your point
well,
of socializing is to find that forever person, and then you
so
create your own society with your family.
so that's what I was going to get at because on the one hand you kind of feel like you're losing I do miss hanging out with Abraham, Matt Murphy, and you, but at the same time I'm very focused on my career. I'm very focused on her, so it's not like you do lose something, but you also gain something else. So it's not really a sacrifice because you are gaining something else in the process. As you know, I cut back drinking a lot. The last time I actually drank was at our staff party, which was almost 2 months ago
Oh,
now.
good stuff,
So
man.
that was a big. That's I used to drink every day, so that's a big thing. So she's been very good influence on me with that, saving a lot of money. I've lost weight. I feel a lot better, sleeping a lot better. And then that's one of those things too that like once I started cutting back, I didn't really feel like I was losing out on because it's like, do I really need this? It's not good for my health. It's costing a lot of money. There's better uses of my time and energy. Obviously, it's taking time off my life. So again, it's like, is it giving something up? Technically, yeah, but is it like a huge loss in the grander scheme? No. And the other thing I was going to get at with the relationship thing is like, I know guys who like say like, oh, if I meet someone, I'll settle down with her, but at the same time, they're going out like hooking up with women, and I'm just like, I'm kind of
Yeah.
asking like, is that really fulfilling long term? Like, there's a point where we're all young and we're like, oh yeah, I like all these women, whatever. But at the same time, you kind of realize like there's no long term plan with that. It's just like you hook up with this woman, you don't talk to her again. You hook up with this woman, you don't talk to her. Like, is that really fulfilling long term, or is it more like you're kind of using that to fill some void in yourself? Whereas you build a relationship with someone, okay, you're constantly working towards bigger and bigger things. So it's more, it's like, yeah, you might give up the social life and drinking and stuff now, but longer run, you're gonna have a much better life, and you're glad you did it. Like, and I'm starting to see that already, and then down the road, it's gonna be more and more so. You know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good transition to the next
Yeah.
question, which is, are there any pastimes or ways of living which are the opposite of what you do? So, I think in this sense would be like just imagining somebody who you're making a case, you got married in New York City, big city, still living in the big city, struggling with all that, whatever things in there, but you're managing being married versus somebody who would be like, no, just be single, be a bachelor, and live your life that way. Can you kind of you're able to do this. This is one thing I appreciate about Steven. He's able to like take the point of view of someone he disagrees with or not. And so just see your mentality before like or someone who is making the case like, no, you should not be married. You should just be living the bachelor life and enjoying New York. What do you think that kind of situation is like? Like,
Well, again,
why do
I would
people
just
want that? Like, yeah, why does that appeal to some
I
people?
would just ask like what the long term end goal is. Like if it like the only way I could see that being appealing would be like if you had a career that was so time consuming, but you were so devoted to it that like you were willing just to put all your time and energy into working. Like maybe then it would be worth it. But I mean, again, even like I don't know. I have to believe like even most workaholics, it's like, you want to take time off, you have other interests. Like, I don't know. I've never been someone who just wanted to work like nonstop. I mean, even
Yeah.
like when I was cooking, like, I worked much longer hours. Now I work pretty reasonable hours. Restaurant managers in general work a little less than they used to. Like, managers used to do like 70, 80 hour weeks. Now it's probably closer to like 50, maybe 60 max, which isn't too bad. But it's like, I'm not like, oh, I have to work all the time. I just want to be working all the time. So I don't know. I guess maybe if you're one of those people, sure. But like, I don't know. I mean, like everybody, even people who love what they do, like they still have other interests and things. So I don't know. Maybe that would be a case, but I can't like, again, to my previous point, I don't know. Is there anyone who really finds joy in just going out to bars and sleeping around like forever?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it like it's more like it kind of seems more like hedonism to fill in a void. It's not like a long term accomplishment or satisfaction.
And then even the quality of people that you're going to be dealing with in that point. And then,
Yeah.
yes, people always talk about the wall is undefeated, but yes, a man can keep going and doing these things and earning money and still having access. But there's an equivalent. I don't know what the equivalent of the wall would necessarily be. Maybe like the ball and chain is eventually going to be on you. Like there's that kind of depreciative way of um, calling certain relationships, oh, this is my ball and chain. But even if you don't have that ball and chain and like the missus or the wife or the little lady, when you keep having sex with all these random people or this serial monogamy or polygamy and all these kind of situations, I think eventually there is some aspect where that kind of ties you down to a different thing, and then you lose the ability to do something else. It anchors you to, I think, to a certain way where like I don't know if that necessarily maybe you're left out to sea. So like ball and chain, you can say, okay, this person's a ball and chain and they're stuck in a place, or okay, but they moved. They found somebody and then they went off the high seas. They're not fishing with the millions of fishes in the sea anymore. Now they're on an island, they're building a house, they're doing something with their life. If you just keep living that life on the high seas, eventually you're just stranded out there. There's going to be no ports for you to land. You're just going to be out there with your ship. Eventually your ship will just be derelict. You'll just get older and older. Well, even if you have money and whatnot, you're just going to age out of an actual place where like anybody who was keeping you in that fishing, you're not going to be able to catch any fishes anymore that you find desirable.
Yeah.
And you'll be out there. And then what are you going to do? What are you going to do in that kind of situation?
The other comparison I was thinking as a history buff, I was thinking of the Spanish versus the English empires, and I was thinking of how like the Spanish looted all this gold, and for a while they had a ton of it. And like, yeah, you can live pretty well, but what happens?
Mm-hmm.
You just blow through the money, you're left with nothing, and then it's like, you've spent all the money buying goods from other countries. You don't have an infrastructure. You don't have a base. And then you spent all the gold and that's it. Whereas the English and eventually then the British, as they were called, like were smart because they thought, okay, you invest in something, build industries, build fur trading, shipping, all that. And then over time you make money. Then you build other industries and you keep building it up. And eventually, you have to work hard in the now, but you're left with a lot more long run rather than just you blow through what's here and, you're left with nothing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now with the spending, that's a good transition. We're not doing this on purpose. I think we just vibe off pretty well. So like, I think our conversations just go like this and flow. So the next is like, what are some of the misconceptions about being newlywed in the city, especially a place like New York with the costs? You did mention that you just had a move. So just tell us a bit about like what went into that to saying like, okay, this is now, we're not living in one bedroom apartment anymore. Like now it makes sense for us to move to Astoria. Or just other things that you had misconceptions about being married. And this is also for you, some of the things that you thought like once we get married, this and this might happen. But then now that you're married, okay, some of those things have changed. And whether you're glad or surprised, just talk a bit about that.
Well, I think, it was interesting because, like, for a while, like, I knew we wanted to live together, obviously, but I was getting discouraged because the rent in the city has gotten so expensive. Like, I don't know if you've heard, but there's some studios hitting, like, 5,000 now, which is crazy. And it's crazy because I remember, like, when I was first moving here, this was like 2009. I mean, that's almost 20 years ago now, but, like, I remember people saying, like, oh, I hear studios in New York City start at 1,400. That's crazy. And it's like, you wish you could get that. Yeah. And
I just saw a studio being advertised here starting for 200. It was a pretty good studio. It was like really close to like that. So yeah, keep going.
And the thing is too, like, what do you get for that? You're not getting a palace. You're getting like, a room, like small room. So
yeah, this one had fully kitchen, had security, had a gym, had parking, like everything. It was about $200 a month.
and I know it's true in other cities too, because I remember I knew a guy, he was from Seattle, like I don't think it was Seattle itself but outside, but he was saying, like, then again, this is back in like 2009 or so, but he was saying even at that time like $1,000 there got you like a big apartment, and and it's like that was back then, whereas again studios here were starting at 1,400. So but we really lucked out. It was funny. It was one of those things that, like, in retrospect, couldn't have gone much better than it did because she was looking around, and I think she found it online or something, so we checked it out. We live in... It's essentially a basement studio. It's not technically underground, but it's below street level. But it's in, like, kind of a small house, and, like, there's an older couple that lives above us, and it really worked out well because it's, like... They wanted somebody quiet. The older couple used to actually live where we live now, and they wanted, like, quieter neighbors. So it's like, okay, a couple in their mid to late 30s, they're going to be quiet. It's in Astoria. The one downside to where we live is it's a little far from transportation. Like on the map, if you look, it's like just a little under a mile to each subway. So it's not super convenient, but it's the one. Well, like in a way, I was spoiled with. I lived in a tiny room, but well, I lived in a tiny room, but the thing was the subway was literally on my block. Like I would go outside, walk around, and you could take. So I was a little spoiled. Whereas here you have to walk. But I mean, again, it's not terrible, and a nice day. It's a pleasant walk. And it's like, we have a little bit more space. We have an actual kitchen area. I think I sent you a photo of it at one point. Obviously we have our own bathroom. I used to have to share a bathroom. That was, lousy. So, it's a bit more space, a bit more comfortable. We have a little backyard. We planted some vegetables in pots.
Nice.
We're doing so, it feels a bit more like a home, not, this tiny room that I'm living in. And it worked out because it's like, for me, it's like I know I would want to work mostly in Manhattan. It's maybe like 40 minutes to get to my job, and most places in Manhattan, maybe 40 minutes, half an hour, unless you go further down. Um, she works, I'm not going to say where, but it's like it's not too far from us. So it's like that's convenient for her. So overall, it's just like it's that good location of like, it's a little outside of Manhattan, so it's a little cheaper, but it's close enough to Manhattan that it's still right there. But it's like, things are still accessible. So overall, it's the right balance of all those things. Because we were also looking at, like, at one point, like Brighton Beach or Coney Island. But the thing is,
Mhm.
like I love those areas. But the thing is, it would be like 2 hours from work, and I'm like, I don't want to commute like 2 hours to work every day. Like if I had a job out there, or I only wanted to work out there, I would say it's fine. But it's like I don't want to live like that far from where I work. I mean, I might as well live with my parents. So we found that, and then it's been good. It's like we have our studio. It's like it's on a street that's a little bit quieter. Our area is kind of funny though. I was saying like it's a mix of like industrial buildings, older apartments, mini houses, newer apartments. Like it's like parts of the area are trying to gentrify, other parts are older. I don't know. It's kind of a mixed bag, but it's cool. I mean, I like our area and I like Astoria overall. I like going up to the park. This is a nice view of the river. Roosevelt Island is nearby. You can see. I
Yeah.
still haven't. I've only been through Roosevelt Island with the train. I haven't actually hung out there, but they have a lighthouse. I might walk around there at some point. It's nice and a little bit different. It's funny. Like I was saying, I go to my old neighborhood now. It feels like a different world, even though like I lived there for years. But it feels so much different now. Does that about answer everything, or did you want me
Yeah,
to?
yeah. Is there any other misconceptions about no misconceptions about married life? If there was certain things you were like, okay, so I'm assuming there's probably not going to be a lot just because the type of person you are, and you probably have sorted a lot of these things out ahead of time. But it's wild how many things, like I hear people being like, "Oh, we got married, and then she brought this up." I'm like, how was that not discussed ahead of time?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, how do you think you can avoid some of these misconceptions? Because that's another thing that people do. They assume certain things about the person, and then when they get married, the person, a new side of the person comes out. I'm like, how do you not suss that out ahead of time? Like, were both of you just pretending to be certain people, and then when you got married, like one of the clear ones is like, oh, I had kids, and now she wants to raise them Muslim, and I am like an atheist. I'm like, how was that not discussed like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
ahead of time? So it's
yeah.
like, if you happen to have a few misconceptions about like who she'd be as a married person, did she change at all, or do you knew her well enough that she's pretty much the same person you guys? It seemed like you guys just slid into it. At least from looking from outside, it seems like not much changed. But what do you think are some of the common misconceptions people have about being married life that you would suggest steps that people can take to answer those things? What are some of the things people should answer, I think, before? So this probably goes into the, yeah. So yeah, actually, the next question is that. So any courses or classes or other forms that you specialize. So yeah, what are the things that helped you during the courting process, during getting to know Christina, so that when you got married, it wasn't all of a sudden this brand new person, and you didn't all of a sudden change. Like, what are the things you shared to her about who you are as a man, who you'd be as a husband, and what are the things you sussed out about her, about who she is as a woman and who she could be as a wife ahead of time, so that when you got married, it wasn't like all of a sudden these two new beings are meeting each other.
Well, one little correction. Her name is Christine. My mother
Okay,
is
sorry.
Christina. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, yeah. It's just
Okay.
it's just funny coincidence. I know. You sort of touched on it, but I mean, we're both considered honest and transparent people. Like she was very like to the point about a lot of things. Obviously, that's one of the things I love about her. Like she's not playing games or like doing manipulative stuff. I think that's a big part of it. I was talking to you before this conversation started about that's one of the things I like about my current GM. Like if he sees something wrong, he'll bring it to you right away and say, "Hey, that you have to fix this or whatever." And then it's like you're very transparent, fixing things in the moment. And then if it happens again, then it can be okay. Come on, we talked about this, and it becomes a bigger thing. Um, So like for example with her there are little cultural differences, like for example being Buddhist, she's big on feng shui with certain things, so she'll like rearrange things in certain areas. It's like, well, because for me it's like it's not something I gave it thought, but like look, if it makes her happy and it's like, okay, we put this here instead of there, it's like, obviously it's a very very easy compromise. It's not like,
Is feng shui just Oriental autism?
well, it's I mean they it's certain beliefs they have, but at the same time it's kind of like it's like, again, because they always talk about compromise. Like my parents have had like disagreements on things too, but again, it's like, is it a deal breaker for the relationship? No, absolutely not. I mean, if the other person wants to put this here instead of here, like if that's
Yeah.
like the biggest difference, it's like, who cares? It's not, oh, my kid, we're gonna raise the kids with my religion. I don't care. There's nothing like that. Um, as far as I would say, as far as the change once we married, is she changed jobs, and I was very happy because she got off those overnight shifts. Like if you remember, she was working like really unusual hours, and like
Mhm.
it was just aggravating for us because it was like she'd get out of work, she'd sleep, then like we would do something, and then she would go to sleep, then she'd go to work at night, and it was just like it was annoying for our schedule, but also I could see like physically it was really wearing her down. And now it's like closer to 9 to 5 hours, so it's like she's well rested, and then she gets out of work, she doesn't feel tired, then we go to bed not too late, and it works out at my job actually because I do the opening shift, so it's like we get up around the same time. She leaves and I leave, and then like she'll get home first, but I'll get home, but I'm not getting home like ridiculously late, so it's like the hours are a little closer together. So that's nice as well. Yeah, I don't think really a whole lot changed. I mean, obviously spending more time together and stuff, but
Mhm.
we've been good about, like, for example, budgeting our money. Like there's a company called Wild Fork. I forget if I've talked about them. They ship like frozen meat and fish to your house. So like I order from them
Okay.
now. Like I spent like 100 something bucks, but I got enough food for like a week plus, like enough like meat and fish. So keep it in the freezer. Then like, okay, instead of going out to eat all the time, especially now things have gotten crazy. Um, we have a produce market. We like stuff's really cheap, so we mostly buy from there. So it's mostly like buy produce from there, meat and fish from Wild Fork. Occasionally, I'll buy things at the store if I want to try something or whatever. But in general, saving a lot of money that way. So then just like thinking more about the future and not spending it on frivolous things. Because my thing is like I don't have a lot of huge expenses aside from rent and stuff, but for me, like I tend to spend lots of money on like little things that add up. So like I've just become more conscientious about that because it's
Mhm.
like, instead of blowing money on random nonsense, put it into savings or whatever, then longer run we'll have a better life. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit of a callback there to like the
Yeah.
first talk that we had because you were talking about being I think you something with fish. You was going to the sourcing fish from different people. I think you were
Yeah.
involved in something like that in the first one. But yeah, what you talked about there with like the manager, that's I think a good way to see it. If you're dating somebody, I ask you all to like go and see how they associate with other people.
Yeah.
Especially if you can find places where they're in a power dynamic where they have more power in whatever dynamic over the people that they're dealing with. I think that's a key thing because in relationships, you're going to be ceding certain power to that person. You're going to be giving your heart like, figuratively to that person or just trusting them to have power over attorney over in that practical sense, but also other aspects of your life. You're going to be like, I'm going to trust them to do that. I'm going to do this. What's the division of labor sort of thing where you're like,
Yeah.
or you're not going to be able to show up for something, but like, I can trust sending my partner there, sending my spouse there, sending my wife there, my husband, whatnot, that kind of sense. So I think if you start seeing how they do that to other people who they're not as close to, if they're like honest, if they're upfront with them, if they come and discuss things, then you can be like, okay. But if you see them having power over somebody, then they act nice, and then they come and to you and they're like, yeah, this person's horrible. I hate this person. Why do they keep messing up? They're probably gonna do the same thing to you
Yeah.
once
Yeah.
you've allowed them to have that situation.
Yeah.
So I think that's a key thing. Like if you're talking to somebody and they're not willing to show you how they are. Does Silas use free Zoom for this? So there's 40 minutes for the recording, and you have to actually tell the person you're talking to before so you can cut off in a good way. Yes. Was Silas also too engrossed to this conversation with his good friend Steven that he didn't notice? Yes, also to that. As I said at the start, this is 3 seasons of this. I'm going to be posting on my Dying Alive channel. I'm going to be trying to get a lot of these I Know Great People as but every 3 days I'm going to be posting. So far, I've been doing that pretty well. You'll be finding something posted there, and Rantathon blog for daily posts as well. So Stephen will be back on for other things, and on the screen you can see a speed drawing of a different conversation we had. He's been a really good friend to me, had probably at least 100 conversations recorded, I think. It maybe not 100, but close to that, of just different topics. I think it's probably 100 of different topics of my Dying Alive. So if you want to hear more from Stephen about a wide range of topics, you can check him out there. And I didn't do the speed drawing of his initial drawing for it, but I might do a new one eventually. But if you join I Know Great People, check iknowgreatpeople.carbon33.com for now. I might change the domain for that, might actually get the domain later on. But still, there will be a forward from that, so that will remain. And you can check out the questionnaire. You can find out about this project. You can see if you want to join. You can also check other people that have been on there. Next post in the 3 days, so on the 12th, is going to be a conversation with Christopher, who was here previously talking about AI and software engineering. So he's coming back on to talk about a website that he made entirely prompting. So that's how this series works. You join I Know Great People, and then you can propose any other topics. We can set a day for those topics if other people want to jump on those topics as well. I'll be announcing different topics from different people, and I Know Great People. If you want to come join and listen live, might eventually get to live and things like that. We'll be working up to that. Might need to get a live Zoom or what's that other thing? StreamYards, something. I'm looking into getting this done in different ways. But for now, back into the conversation.
Okay, we're back.
Yeah, as I want to do with conversation with Steven, it just gets into things that I get into, and it was forgetting the time on the Zoom thing. But yeah, we're back in. What was I saying? I was saying about like, yeah.
So we were talking about people in leadership positions and how that carries into relationships, and
yeah.
like the people who are like nice to your face, but then will stab you in the back. If you see them doing that as a manager, you wouldn't want to be in a relationship with them, because then it's like they're just going to do the same thing to you.
Yeah. To see how they are around their friends. Are they willing to have you around their friends? Are you willing to have that person around your friends? And if you're not willing to have that person around your friends, there's probably something wrong with like either your friends or that person. Like it's the kind of thing, like it's just so weird how people do that kind of stuff. How they're like, yeah, like I can't bring this girl around my boys. I'm like, which one of those people are not okay? Like they can't both be okay. Like it's like it's something off with that, or you're not okay. It's just it's a weird how we do this thing to ourselves. It's just like it seems easily avoidable. A lot of these issues that people have. I don't know.
Yeah, because like getting back to my GM, like what I liked about him is he actually we had a meeting recently, and he actually asked us, he's like, do you guys have any advice for me? And I'm like, I've never had a GM ask me that. It's usually just do what I want. It was funny because she and I were, my colleague and I were kind of looking at each other. We're like, no, you're respectful. You communicate clearly. You know, if we make mistakes, you talk to us one-on-one. You don't call us out in front of everybody. Like, I know he had to do some of the kitchen manager duties because that person left, so he was a little distracted, but I was like, that's not your fault. That's just, we're down a person, you have to do it. But he's like, okay, think of something and let me know. And I'm just like, I can't, I was like, if I can think about it if you want me to. But I'm saying, like, I haven't gotten that from a lot of managers. I've had a lot of managers who are just like, do what I want. I'm great. Don't question me, all that. And it's just like, it's like, no, you're not perfect. You have not done everything perfectly this whole time.
Even with relationships, many women are like that. Yes, many men are like that. Too many men and too many women are like that.
For sure.
But that doesn't mean the woman you're with is like that. The man you're with is like that. And there's ways to find out if they're like that. Test them, but even just ask them, just talk to them. And in many cases, they will let you know in various ways that people just find ways to either not bring them up, or they have a fear of like, if I bring this up and I find this out, then they're going to break up with me, or I'll finally have to break up with them. But it's just crazy how we can just be blind to some of these things and just like be like, I'm not seeing that. And it's not just with intimate relationships, also with friends and other situations. And it's unfortunate that so many people are in places where they feel they can't be genuine to the people that they're associating with. That's a sad situation that people find themselves like that.
And it's interesting. Well, I was just going to add too. It's interesting how the culture has changed as well, because like, they talk in certain manosphere circles about women being submissive and stuff, and like, the way my grandmothers have been described, they were basically like that. Like it was like, especially back then, it was like the man made the decisions, women just kind of passively accepted that. But it's like that created its own problems because then, like, for example, like, you know, if my grandmothers didn't like certain things, they wouldn't say anything, but then they would either get passive aggressive or explode later because they were unhappy. And it's like, that's not good for anybody. It's better to have that honest conversation. But I think with, my mother's generation as well as subsequent ones are a little better about speaking up. Like, obviously we don't want the combative feminist who wants to argue and is angry, but at the same time, like there is something like, okay, look, if I'm doing something wrong, you can say so. You don't have to just like nod and smile at everything I say either.
Yeah, and that is one of the things. Like, it's different. Like I think I mentioned this already. It's very different to have relations, and even it's hard for even our parents' generation to talk to us about what to do because the ability of discussing and dating, even dating itself is such like a brand new concept. I think like specifically in the West in the 50s was when maybe that started. But before that, it used to be mostly arranged marriages or marriages of convenience, or literally like you're in an age group where you living in this village or in this small hamlet or in this area, there's only like 5 or 6 eligible females at that time, and also 5 or 6 eligible males, and you partner up somehow, and that's going to be your person. You probably don't even know much about the person's needs and wants. You don't even know your needs and wants outside. You might not even have some of these needs and wants because you're like, we're living in this village. This is going to be our home. This is what we do in this village. Like it's very limited in the opportunity. So it's not just limited in partners, but limited in who the individual can be, how much you can grow as a human being, the desires and wants and expressions of individuals has increased. So I think it's a lot more complex. The definition of what we talked about what is a woman? We had a conversation about that one, right? So like what is a woman, what is a man in current timeline, those gender roles are very different. They're in flux and they're changing. But the biology of what is a male, what is a female, and what are the men and the women, the masculine and feminine behavior that has grown off of that hardware is still the same. Those desires are still the same. That desire to find somebody who can supply for you, find someone who can nurture your next generation. It's still a driving force of some of these things. I think it's something we've discussed several times as we talk about relationships. When you start going into intimate relationship, male, female, heterosexual relationships, and you try to pretend it has nothing to do with reproduction, you're probably going to be off the rails. So you're going to start mucking things up because that whole convention has developed. The whole desire, the pleasure we get out of that is tied to our genetic need to reproduce. So it doesn't mean you have to do it, but when you start going away from some of those things, you lose it. But now that expresses itself in so many different ways because I think there's much more diversity in what a woman can be, what a man can be. And then now deciding what should your woman be like, what should your man could be like, that can be difficult. And I can understand the difficulties that they had. But I'm glad you found someone and they found you in that kind of sense. Yeah. How long did that take out? Like from your first dating, like getting to know each other, how long did it take you to be pretty confident this could be a long-term thing? This is somebody who you could be with for the rest of your life?
Well, if I recall correctly, I think there was some attraction on the first date, but I didn't want to get my hopes up right away because it's like that's happened to me before and it didn't go anywhere. And then second date, attraction continued, and I think it was like the third date or so where I was like, okay, this is definitely going somewhere, and that's the one where we went to Huertas, we went to Times Square, all that, and then that's when it was like, okay, officially she's my girlfriend, and then we started dating, and then what's interesting was that I proposed within the first year of us dating. It was like fairly soon, and the thing was, it was funny because I didn't tell anyone. Like she was surprised, as was my family, and but like I did put thought into this as well, and I think I think it was actually our friend Edward who even messaged me. He's like, I saw your proposal. He's like, I know you did the right thing. And it was something like I didn't decide on the fly. Like I thought about it for the last like few months of the year or so because I proposed on Christmas Day. Yeah. But it was like October, November, I was like kind of thinking about it. And I'm like, what would be a good day? And I was like, Christmas Day and she'll be home and everything. But it was like, it was funny too because she was blindsided. She's like, why didn't you tell me? And I was like, I wanted it to be a surprise. Yeah. And I was like, I wanted it to be a surprise, and she was very happy, and it's cute. We have all those photos and videos, and it's like I've always loved Christmas too, so I thought something else for that day, and then and then the marriage thing, it was just a combination of like getting certain things in order. Like I say, where I was working, where she was working, where did we want to live? And then we're like, okay, we'll do the city hall thing. And then St. Patrick's Day was just by accident. It was like a day that was available, but I'm like, okay, it's an easy day to remember. So, that we did that. And then we actually went to dinner at Lupa, which sadly closed, but that was a sister restaurant in Babo where I used to work. And Dina and Mario joined us there as well. So, that was fun. And, it's funny too, because they talk about how the more people spend on weddings, the less likely they are to be divorced. And it was funny because like with us, I was like, is it the inverse because we spent a little bit of money, it's gonna last,
There's nothing to break up. Yeah. Nothing
Yeah.
to feel salty about.
Because
Yeah.
the thing is, they talk about how with a lot of people, it's like they want the wedding but not the marriage. Like, oh, I want to put on an outfit, I want to be
Yeah.
photographed, I want to, But then it's like, okay, but what's it going to be like long term with this person? And then like, you ask certain people, like in this case, women, what do you like? Well, I want the white gown, I want the princess wedding. But it's like, okay, but what do you actually want from the
Yeah.
marriage? And it's like there isn't that longer term.
They have everything pictured out already. They just want the groom to put on top of the cake. And it's like,
Yeah,
I don't understand why people get so stressed and act like at the end of the day, you're marrying somebody who you should love. Like those other people are like window dressing. They're
yeah,
like,
yeah,
but people put on these weddings, these ceremonies for the guests. They're
yeah,
upset that the flowers aren't right or somebody's late. I'm like, what does it matter? Is your groom there? Is your wife there? Is your spouse there? Like, if that's sorted, everything else should be extra. It could be just the two of you in some random woods somewhere getting married, like Braveheart style, going out to the woods, or it could be like the grandest affair ever. But that other stuff is complete, should be extra. I think if you're really there for that person, like I was, somebody was, I just saw something recently, and I've done this far less than when we used to talk about. We've had conversations, or we had longer conversations online off of argument threads on Facebook and other social media, and both of us, I think, have stopped doing that, engaging that much.
yeah,
But I just saw one where like a woman from some reality show, she has a bit more of a boxy square shape, and Victoria's Secret has gone away from just the supermodels and now having more like typical average sort of different bodies and diversity of bodies. And this woman, she's famous. She's a celebrity of sorts. She's wealthy monetarily. And she went on Victoria's Secret, and there was just this article about how she was feeling bad that people were mocking her body and whatnot. And then people were defending her. It's like people are so mean online. And I was just like, if she's truly happy in her life and she has a caring husband, she got caring kids, she's got friends around her, then it shouldn't matter what randoms online say. And this person just kept saying, no, but randoms hide and they say this stuff behind like a keyboard. I'm like, you're making my point. The very fact that she cares what people behind the keyboard are saying, yet she's got human beings in her life. If the human beings in her life value her, why should she care about praise or hate or criticism from random people she's never gonna meet? So it's like
yeah.
people are like, oh, she's so brave to stand up to the online hate, like the hate. But like, why do you care what they're judging your body? Do you have a husband that loves you? Did that body create the kids that are growing up with you who value that body as the source of their existence? If that's truly valuable to you, that's in your life, then you don't care what some random 13-year-old has just tweeted online in between like fucking gooning online to like some other porn or whatever. You don't care about that stuff. That doesn't
Yeah.
affect you at all. But
Yeah.
clearly she's lacking something in life, which is unfortunate. That doesn't matter if she truly
Mm.
means in that way. And that's the kind of relationship that I think y'all have. And a lot of people are lacking. And like, what are some of the things that you think made different, like from the average sort of ersatz sort of junk relationships that they had, or even some of the relationships you had in the past? What are some of the things that you were like, okay, this is not working because of this and this, whether it's your individual or the person that were sorted? Maybe you grew into a different person, you're aware in a different way, or Christine had those elements that weren't there in the past. If you can just touch a bit about that, and we can move to the next. Yeah.
Well, because what's interesting is we talk about different belief systems and stuff too, and like she being raised Buddhist, I was raised Catholic, but I'm more agnostic, skeptical of religion. But at the same time, it's not like, you know, I could, obviously, like, I respect her belief system. She respects mine. Like, we talk about this stuff. One point of common ground on that is that she really likes exorcism movies, and the reason in part is that well, because she's into the whole like spiritual angle of it, plus like the scares. So it's like she's asking me like, oh, why do the Catholics believe this or whatever, or like, what does this ritual mean? Like for example, like one movie recently, there was this convent where the nuns took a vow of silence, and she asked me like, what's that about? And I was like, well, it's the whole idea of like you suffer for God and stuff. She's like, oh, I don't believe that. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm like, this is, a sect of Christianity. And then she was asking me about like, oh, like what's, communion about and stuff. So like some of that, like it's something to sort of learn. And again, as a history buff, I like delving into that stuff too.
Mhm.
Politically, I think it's like one of those things where like I remember she told my mom, she's like, I don't care as much about politics. I care more about business. So it's like, she's not super engaged where it's like, oh, we have to agree on everything. Like broadly, we probably agree on certain things. Like we were talking about the Federal Reserve and how do the rates affect the economy. And she has an accounting background. So like that's relevant there. Obviously we both love cooking. She cooks more obviously Southeast Asian stuff. I do more Western stuff, although we kind of delve into other things too. So it's like I think it's a question of like the underlying values are close enough, even if like the overall belief system isn't 100%, but obviously
Mhm.
like the underlying values are the same, so they can work together. Like my parents have been married 40 years, and the thing is like politically they're opposites, but like
Yeah.
but the thing is overall they agree on, like, obviously they're both family oriented, they're both Christians, they're both into gardening, they're both, you know they disagree, like, and for me their differences aren't as distinct as you think. Like it's more like, okay, maybe I think the rich should pay a little more in taxes, maybe like the other's a little stricter on immigration, but it's not like, oh, black and white, they're so different that it wouldn't work. Like it's more like finer details. Like broadly speaking, I think it's more a question of finer details, not like our core values are fundamentally opposite.
Mhm.
Uh, uh.
Okay, so there's things you value together, but are they things you, because I was thinking now that I'm starting a storytelling studio
Yeah.
here in Nairobi, and it's going to be international stuff, and you eventually get to like hiring people and seeing people to partner with and work with. But I
Yeah.
thought about this for a long time that it would be kind of important, more important than realizing things people like. If it's like if you find out that you dislike the same things, so are there certain things that you both of you dislike intensely, or like, or you're not intensely, but if you realize, oh, you don't like this too, I don't like that either, like, because those are kind of more important in a kind of sense, because if you don't really care about something, somebody might like something and they bring it in your life, and then it's like, okay, you don't really care about this sport, but this person really likes watching this sport and they want to watch it, so you might tolerate watching it, you might even join them because you don't feel one way about it. If it's something you both like, of course they bring that thing into your life. It's more of that thing. You're super excited. You like going on walks. So you both go on walks more. That's awesome. But if there's something you dislike and they like, or yeah, and they, yeah, if it's something you dislike, but they like, or they tolerate, and then they want to bring it in your life, that can cause more schism. So I think if you align more on things you guys dislike, that's a good way to get some of the things. So is there any things that you guys found out like, oh, you don't like that thing either, that you're like, okay, cool.
I'm trying to think actually, not like, I don't think off the top of my head. I mean, not that it occurs to me anyway at the
Okay.
moment.
I think I'm going to include that on the relationship. This I know great people. I think that'd be kind of cool because I want to test it out myself. Like there could be some things right there, like because I'm thinking like my past self. Like you're talking about the different belief systems. Like being a religious as I am, most people here in Kenya are relatively religious and mostly Christian, Anglican, because the Brits kind of colonized this place. So a lot of Anglicans, but then mixed in with
Mhm.
different things. And I'm of a mentality where I'm not quite sure if I don't like this. I'm not like anti-theist like I used to be in my younger, more ornery days, but I'm still rather strongly a religious where I wonder if I could actually just be like, if like I don't know if it's I dislike religion so much where I can be somebody who is. I don't know. We'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. One thing I do like though that you like too as well as the next question as we get into is the cheese. So this is the do you like cheese question. And I've been telling people, it's the last person. I think I was talking to Derek or some few other people. I was telling them about Casa Lula, this is a cheese place. So with this one, we know you like cheese. That's why Steven's an awesome person. He's an awesome person already, but then the whole cheese thing makes him even yet more awesome than before. But yeah, any new cheese stories? Have you found a new cheese place? Have you discovered new cheese? Have you cooked with some cheese lately? Just talk cheese a bit. Like, What's the new on the cheese thing since we last talked on yeah, it wasn't too long ago now. I know great people, but yeah, just cheese stories. What's new?
So living in Astoria, it's fitting. I've been enjoying halloumi lately because Greek stuff.
Gotcha.
So there was a diner nearby. We tried it at. It was pretty good. I bought some actually, cooked it at home. There's also a Spanish cheese. I have to check the name. There are a lot of Spanish products in the grocery stores around here, and it's kind of similar to halloumi, but it's advertised as like frying cheese. They sometimes serve
Okay.
it at work. Yeah, they serve it at work too. It's
What's
very
it called?
similar to. I'd have to check the label, but it's if you go to like certain sections where there's like Spanish sections, like you'll find like arepas, you'll find queso blanco, things like that. They often have it there, and it kind of reminds me of halloumi, both in terms of like the texture and the taste. And
Hmm.
I've seen at work sometimes they serve it for family meal, like they just you throw it in the fryer. But it's like similar to halloumi, both the texture and the taste. So, oh, that's another one.
Is there any cheese at the restaurant you work at? Because like there was Derek was in the military and he was stationed in Japan and he was talking about how he had an experience there where he was walking into a restaurant and the owner of the restaurant came and was like, "Hey, no cheese, no cheese, no cheese." And then his friend he was with who speaks some Japanese kind of told him like, "No, no, this guy's okay. Like he eats the food here because I guess Americans were coming in and being boorish or not like being respectful to like the culture of the restaurant and whatnot." And then he went and found there was actually cheese on the menu, and he was talking about how like we've also talked about how like an Oriental cooking cheese isn't really used that much, but apparently like Japan has adopted the cheese. So like, is there any cheese at the place you're working at? Any of the
No,
cheese?
we don't really use much dairy in general. Like we have some ice creams for dessert. Trying to think what else. Um, yeah, we don't even use a lot of dairy in general. It's just, I mean, historically, like you say, it's not big in East Asian cooking. There
Mm.
have been some of it's become more popular in recent times because of Western influence, but it's not like traditional Japanese cooking for sure. If you did, it was like very marginal, you
Yeah.
know.
Made some really good cheeseburgers yesterday. Just like nice little condensed one that said some like wet fry kind of seasoning in it, and like just caramelized onions, just an sesame seed bun with the brown sauce from the British brown sauce, and then just like some nice sharp cheddar, like chunky melted onto the bun. It was really good. It's really nice. This burger. Okay, so now the last. Yeah,
Sorry,
go
I was just
ahead.
going to mention I should have. I'll send you the video, but Chef Masa actually had a restaurant downtown. It closed called Tetsu. Unfortunately,
Uh-huh.
it was one of those places that was doing well, but I guess there was some issue with the building, or I'm trying to remember
Oh,
exactly. But anyway, they actually did have a burger there, and he actually made his own device to cook it. Because I don't know if you know, but Chef Masa actually designs his own plates as well, and he designed a device for cooking burgers. It's almost like this. It looks like almost like a medieval device or something, but it's this like thing where you like it's metal, it closes, you put it on the oven, and it heats up, and then the like almost like teeth that go into it transmit the heat into the burger.
ah,
So like
okay.
yeah, it's and he did one I think with Taleggio. It looks really good. I'll find the video for you. It was really interesting though.
Nice.
But like I thought that was really creative. Yeah.
Burger video, putting that down in the notes so we can have that in the links once we find it. Okay. Yeah, because yeah, that's one of the things the way the buggers cup when because like I was using the hotter implement for the fries as we're deep frying the fries, and then like I had to use the one that wasn't as hot, so it was kind of slow cooking the burgers, and they cupped a bit, but then it was still thick enough where like you press them down. So I saved them somehow. But yeah, yeah. But yeah, then definitely that having the kitchen, that's definitely something also that I'm glad you guys upgraded to, to have that
Yeah.
because even when you were in the studio, you guys were trying to do some cooking here and there and see you post some things,
Yeah.
but like it's good to have that where you have now. You guys are doing a lot more stuff, like shuffling it up in your kitchen. But yeah, you also need to start posting on the shuffling it up page that I have.
Yeah.
I've been telling people to start doing that. So like get these projects up and going. Okay, so now the last question of the questionnaire section. Anything else to add about being married in New York City? Is cost the earnings, cost benefit analyses, trade-offs, relationships that you've met? Like have you met any like not married friends where it's like both of y'all made this new person as a friend, maybe moving to the new place yet? Has that happened yet? But yeah, just anything else you want to add about the topic of being newly married in New York City?
Not really. I mean, we say hi to our neighbors. Like it's an older couple. I mean, they're friendly, but we don't like. It's one of those like we say hi or like we occasionally small talk if I see them, but we're not close with them. Um, People in the nearby buildings we don't really talk to. Most of us just go to work. I've gone to her workplace. I've met some of her coworkers. They're pretty fun. We've hung out there. She went to the staff party. She got to meet my coworkers. We took a bunch of photos. I don't know if you saw. They all remember her, and she liked a lot of them. But it's not like we've met each other's coworkers. We get along, but it's not like I'm talking to them like on my own or like she's hanging out with them or anything. So
Hmm. What was
I guess like
okay? Yeah, go ahead.
technically we've made friends in each other's camps, but it's not like, oh,
Yeah.
like I go and hang out with them or she goes and hangs out with them or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. What was that? The couple days that's still going on. With that, like, this is probably going to be posted. Today's the second when we're recording this. I'll probably post this. Okay, third. I'll probably post this on the 9th. Is the variety festival thing still going to be going on by that time? The voting thing or no? What is that thing anyway?
Variety Festival?
No, the voting thing, the couples of New York thing that you
Oh
guys
yeah,
voted
yeah, the
on. Yeah.
contest we're in. I got to see when the last day is. I mean, I would encourage everyone if you can keep voting. I think we're in the top 10 right now, but hopefully we win. But yeah, it is. I'm sure it's very competitive. Yeah.
And you guys have like some cooking thing too, right? Like the New York City thing where you guys do some food things, like walking around and stuff.
We've had the YouTube channel. We've had the YouTube channel. I haven't posted on it in a little. I should again, but
Hmm.
that we've been doing reels for fun. But I think it's been a little tougher too because like she'll make dinner like while I'm at work, then I'll come home and eat, or like sometimes like we had like pizza the other day, so it's like I'm not gonna do a video about that.
Yeah.
Then like we did a few photos and we hung out, so it's like it was a little different before because it's like if we had the day off together, then it was like we would do something at the same time. But it's like we would like to start doing that stuff. It's just the timing doesn't always work.
Okay. Yeah. Well, links might be below, or whenever that starts kicking up, maybe we'll update the links. Or Stephen will be back on for more conversations about whatever that those other things that he's doing are. But yeah.
Right.
Okay. So now on to the last three questions. On the first one of the last three, do you have any question for me on this topic or anything that came to mind while we were talking or anything?
Not really. I mean, was there anything else you wanted to ask, or did that cover basically what you wanted?
No, I think that covered basically. I don't know. Did you meet Stan? I think Stan was also somebody else I wanted to have on. Stanislav, the taller
Oh,
Eastern European dude.
you've mentioned him in conversation, but
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever spoken.
So he got married also, and then he moved to, I want to say Pennsylvania or like South Carolina or something. So I wanted to have him on also for this one. But
Cool.
yeah, yeah, okay. So with the relationship thing, no, I don't know. I don't know. There's something else, but yeah, I think I want to start highlighting this a lot. I want to have some on like parenting, on getting relationships, because I think there's a lot of nihilism going on in the world.
Yeah.
And it's just like this is something that I've talked about. One of my earliest videos, and me just starting on Dying Alive and blogging on Rantathon and starting to search things out was because like I was growing up in America, kid of diplomats moving around, and I'm like, can I actually live in America? People are telling me this place is racist, or you're an immigrant, or you don't have the ability to do this. So I bought into a lot of negative things, and it was just like searching out and seeing like, is the world as dangerous as it is? No, it's like the greatest time to be alive, regardless of your situations. People still have struggles, of course, but one of my earliest realizations was this. About, I did a video on this also, where it's like the world is safer, yet we feel more afraid. And the example I had was in the past, let's say you lived in a 100 square meter area with 10 houses, and one house or two houses were robbed that year. It'd be like you probably wouldn't like yeah, let's say half the houses are robbed that year. The chances of you actually meeting one of those neighbors in that big span of area, you might meet one of the persons and you might meet them like 3 months after they got robbed, and they might tell you a bit about it, but it won't really be sticking in your mind. Even though it was like 50% of houses in that 100 square mile area got robbed, you would hear about one 3 months later, it'd be divorced from you. Now there's 1,000 houses in that 100 square meter area, and maybe only 5 houses got robbed. The same number as before, but now that's like 0.01%. Or yeah, whatever. It's I don't know, 1,000. I don't know what 5% of 1,000, 5 houses out of 1,000 is. Regardless, I'm not going to do the math right now. But it's fraction of the houses, of the 50% of the houses that got robbed before. But this time, you're going to be getting live footage while it's being robbed. The people who got robbed are going to be talked about on the news. They're going to give full exposés. They're going to be showing, okay, this is the criminal. This is what happened. Look, he's being shot. He's running out. This is what happened. Then everybody's going to talking about the security that's going to be done. You're getting advertising. Your neighborhood is dangerous. your numbers are going high. So you're gonna feel a lot more scared and a lot more in danger, even though you're like infinitely, you're exponentially safer. And I think that's the same thing with relationships. In the past, there was way more struggles of relationships. It wasn't just white picket fence 50s type of thing. And like a lot of people like we need to go back to like the 50s when relationships were like, no, you don't. You don't
Yeah.
want to go back to that kind of life. You probably wouldn't like it back in that kind of life. I know definitely for someone like me, like being a Negro, like I probably would not like life in the United States of America in the 50s, regardless of any struggles I might have today in
Yeah.
America. But when it comes to relationships too, like, yes, you might be able to find someone, you might be able to be with someone, you probably just be given someone and you'd be like, that's it. You have no other
Mm.
choices. You have to work for this person. You have to live in this kind of situation. You have to have kids by this age. If you don't do that, you're not getting the support. This is the job that you're going to have. You would have far less freedoms. And for some people, that might be a willing trade-off. They might be willing to trade off the opportunities of going out and finding somebody who fulfills them more as an individual. And they might have to have some more rejection, deal with more challenges in that kind of way, sieve through like a more numerous number of people to find that one person. But I think the person you find, you have the ability to find somebody who is a lot closer to who you are, to fulfilling you as more than just a husband, as a wife, but as individual human beings. I think the ability to have those relationships, those friendships, and the ultimate sort of relationship and friendship with a spouse and have kids is greater than ever today. So I think it's this. I'm glad you came on to be the first in this conversation. I'm glad you found someone. Glad you've been sharing a bit about your relationship with that. But that's like a good thing. I think I want to highlight some of this more with this about people living and flourishing and existing in life instead of focusing on those negative situations, because the negative ones are there, but we get highlighted. Those negative, like you talked about earlier, those harsh, negative people are a lot louder and they're given a lot more shine. They're elevated to a level where they seem like that's the majority when that's not the case at all. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Yep. All right.
now do you have any questions for anybody else that might answer this questionnaire? This one we've asked before, but now do you have any questions for yeah. Okay. Do you have any questions? Let's say I think this would be a good one to ask questions to people who are like choosing to be single. Do you have any questions for those people? Because I'm also wondering if some of these people like, what is the situation? People who are like, I'm not going to
Well,
get married. I'm not going to do this. I'm giving up. I'm giving up on that. Or like,
Well, again, I would just ask what are the details of your life? Like, do you have a career you really love and you want to devote your time to it? That's why, you're single. If that's the case, okay, that kind of makes sense to me. Or, I sent you a screenshot of someone we know earlier, and it was talking about
yeah,
like not marrying because not I'm not married because men treat women poorly or whatever. And it's kind of like, well, what men are you interacting with if you're seeing that over and over? Because it's like, I've not just my parents, but it's like obviously I've seen other happy marriages, so it's not like this is impossible. It's like you might just be surrounded by a lot of dysfunctional relationships, which you think
yeah,
are normal, and then you've given up because you've just seen that. When in reality, you could probably go out and meet people who had stable marriages, and you'd realize like, okay, this is definitely possible. It's just maybe
yeah,
like maybe you grew up in a house where the marriage was dysfunctional, so that's normal to you. Maybe because your parents are dysfunctional, you're friends with people who are also they're friends with people who are also like that because that's just normal to them. I mean, I don't know the whole situation, but it's like it's just sad that someone has such a bleak view on that,
yeah,
across the board.
yeah. Like, don't embrace the suck. Don't fall into the
Yeah.
nihilism. I mean, like that person individual. Like that's one thing I wonder. Like, what they keep doing this. Like, what are they doing to change the situation? If that's how they believe it is, and if that's the way things are, then why do you keep talking about it? If that's a
Yeah.
problem, how do you really maximize? Like at least from my personal experience, I can speak from like I know I've been leaving much on the table. I haven't been doing shit. I haven't been achieving stuff. So
Yeah.
like part of me being single is because like I know I haven't done enough to be the sort of person that I think someone I would want to be with would want to be with. Like it gets to the point where it's like by me not having the drive and the ability to actually see through some of these things, do these things, achieve certain levels of stability, and just be more of an active adult, successful, flourishing adult. If somebody comes to me and wants to and likes me enough to want to be with me in my mental state of the past, like I'm suspicious about you. Like you should like, why do you think you deserve someone at this low of a level? But so if you're living your life, so just ask themselves like, have you truly maximized your person? And this is one thing like with the MGTOW talking about that, like there was MGTOW, some of them go more like PUA, play pickup artist type of stuff that was just
Yeah.
disgusting to me, going out and just sleeping with girls and going for low quality women who are easy to sleep with and manipulate them. Like if you surround yourself and you're searching out those kind of women, of course you're gonna look bad on women. And then if you just happen to even come into the orbit of somebody who's good, then you're gonna spoil them if they happen to be fooled by you. Or if they're fooled by you, then like that question is how good were they? But any decent woman would see you coming and veer away from you. So there's that
Yeah.
kind of people. But then now there's like the MGTOW monks and the other aspect who are like work out, start reading, go to the gym, do better in finances, start investing. And I'm like, all the things you're saying are actually like probably going to make you like more appealing to actually quality women. But they were doing it with like going away from women in a kind of sense of like the things you're doing. But anyway, so I was like, these people are actually, that was an idea of like, you need to actually just be secure and in yourself. Are you truly maximizing yourself? So whether you're a female or male, man, woman, gender, whatever you're identifying as, if you're in a certain situation, have you truly maximized who you are as a person? And is that part of what's keeping you away from finding somebody that you're happy with? Are you able to be true to yourself and live your truth in that kind of sense? Or are you pretending? Are you acting in a certain way? And then you're upset when you meet somebody who reacts to who you're acting as. And you're like, this person doesn't see me. I'm like, have you even shown that person who you are? Like, do you
Yeah.
even understand who you are as a person? And I think there's too many people, unfortunately, in my experience, who are not able to truly exist in themselves. And then if you're that way, whoever you find, if you find somebody that likes an aspect of you and you're pretending to be somebody, then I think you'll start loathing that person because you're like, this person is making me act in this certain way, or they haven't seen through this. We're like, anyway, it's a negative situation that I
Yeah,
see.
for sure.
Yeah.
For
Okay,
sure.
so let's do a hypothetical. We'll take one of these because we haven't built up the random questions yet. But yeah, so anybody listening, if you want to send in random questions that we can be asking in this section, there's a last section here. It's like you take a random question, or next time Stephen comes on, if you have a question for Stephen about this topic or any other topic he's discussed, you can submit those questions in the comment section where this is, or you can email. I'll put an email in later. But you can do that, and then next time Stephen is on, he can either take a random question, do a hypothetical, or take one of the directed questions to him. So for now, Forever 75. I just did that in one of the last ones, so I'm just going to discard that. Pick a number between 1 and 3.
Seven, one
Seven.
and three.
Seven's okay.
Yeah.
I'll pick that. Like one,
Lucky number.
two,
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, the mind killer. Yeah, I don't think I've done this one. Okay. So here's the question. We have enough time. Yes, we got time. You become friends with a charismatic Spanish insurance salesman who claims to be a mystic. At first, you think he is just an interesting weirdo, but then a mutual acquaintance mysteriously dies in his sleep, and your Spanish friend tells you, I killed that guy. I killed him with my mind. You find this disturbing and inappropriate, but you decide to let it go. 2 weeks later, an unpopular local politician dies in his sleep. I killed that man too, says your Spanish friend. I killed him with my mind. This is annoying and tasteless, but once again you let it go. The very next day, the Spanish insurance salesman calls you on the telephone and says, check the newspaper and see what I did with my mind. It's in the entertainment section. When you open the newspaper, you see an obituary for a singer-songwriter, Tori Amos. Why is Tori Amos cutting shots? The article says she mysteriously died in the night. Technically, this proves nothing, but you nonetheless confront your Spanish friend and tell him you've grown tired of all this hypothetical mind murdering and that you no longer want to be his friend. Don't you dare shut me out of your life, he says. You are my best friend. You must remain in my life. I'm not sure what I would do if you ever betrayed me. Do you remain friends with this possibly delusional, possibly dangerous Spaniard? You have no physical proof that he can actually kill people with his mind. I think I know the answer, but yeah, what would you do?
Um, I don't think I would. I mean, I think it just seems like it could also just be people dying and then him saying after the fact I killed them. Like if he had said in advance like, oh, this person's gonna die tomorrow than they did, I would be like, if that kept happening, I'd be more suspicious. But it's like if random people are dropping dead, you're like, I killed them. It's like, well, anyone could just say, I did that from afar.
Yeah, I think same with me. Like I would have sussed it out earlier enough for the mysticism. I don't believe enough
Yeah.
in the mysticism, and there's definitely no evidence in this situation for it. And first of all, like, you are my best friend. I think that would just be creepy enough, because I doubt I'd be best friends with somebody who has this sort of mysticism to the point where either I would have proved through talking to them that they have those powers, and then I don't believe those powers can exist to begin with. So I don't think that's a possibility. But so that means I wouldn't know them well enough to have completely sussed it up. But then if they're thinking I'm my best friend, I'm like, you're not Steven. You're not like somebody actually you know. So what is it? So yeah, I think I would cut it off with them without fear of them mind killing me or anything. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So that's in the discard pile now. But yeah, so that's it. That's it for this conversation. I think thanks for coming. Anything else you want to say
Yeah,
to the
thanks.
people before we check out?
No, I think we had a pretty good talk. Thanks for having me on, as always.
Okay. Stephen will be back for this and many other series, and you can also, if you've enjoyed this at all, check out Dying Alive for like at least 150 other times that me and Stephen have talked about a wide range of topics. But yeah. So that's it for me. Thanks, Stephen, again. Okay, guys, gals, and everybody else in between. Goodbye.
Bye bye.